Thank you for joining me again. Today, we'll be looking at the friends of Daniel, three individuals who made up their minds to dare to be alone with God. I'm sure you know them already. They are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Do you know what? When you see a friend who fears God and who serves God faithfully, make that fellow your friend. Befriending such a fellow will make you to serve God better, and it will help you to know the Lord more. Remember the adage, show me your friend, and I will tell you who you are. The Bible recorded it in the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 8, that, But Daniel made up his mind that he would not defile himself with the king's finest food, or with the wine which the king drank. So he asked the commander of the officials that he might be excused so that he would not defile himself. When his friends saw his determination and commitment, they also made up their minds to join him. The Bible recorded it again in verse 9 that now God granted Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the commander of the officials. Daniel was the front person at the forefront, talking to the officials, and the officials were responding to him. Imagine if Daniel was not there. Maybe the other three might not be bold to take their stand. But when they saw the determination of Daniel, they also joined him. That is why you cannot afford not to dare to be alone with God. You don't know who is watching you or who is looking up at you to see if you will do the right thing. And if you dare to stand for God, they will join you. But if you join the crowd and you go on the wide road, they also will join you, but their blood will be required from your hand. And we want us to look critically at what happened again in Daniel chapter 1. The people of God sinned against God, and God allowed the enemy to overcome them in order to punish them and make them come back to their senses. If we read from verse 1 to verse 4a, it says, In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim king of Judah came Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon unto Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim king of Judah into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace. If we look at that passage critically and we compare it to our own contemporary world now, do you know that the devil is not looking for just anybody or just any riffraff? No, he's looking for children of God, King of Kings seed, princes, those who are serving God faithfully, those who are skillful in all wisdom, those who can play musical instruments to the glory of God, those who can minister, and millions of souls will be won to Christ. These are the people that the devil is looking for. And what does he need them for? Let's look at verse 4b. And it says, And whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Simply put, they want to change their belief system. They want to stop them believing in God. They want to stop them believing whatever they have been believing before then. They want to indoctrinate them into believing something else instead of believing God. Is that not what is happening now to tongue-talking believers, firebrand believers, who were once faithful to God and will not defile themselves in any way, but have now been reoriented, and many of them have forgotten where they came from, or the fact that they are just pilgrims on earth? That was the scenario where Daniel and his friends met themselves, and they all proposed not to defile themselves by eating the king's portion. The king is not giving them his portion because he loved them. No, he commanded them to be given the king's portion to hook them, to make them lose their guard, to make them to grow used to luxury, so that when he will need them to work for him, there will be no opposition or any godly character left in them. If before you were introduced to the different gadgets and luxuries in the world, you used to pray for 1 hour, You used to fast even without a call for fast. You used to wake up in the night to pray. You used to go for evangelism on your own, but now you have been introduced to life. The Babylonian king has given you free access to internet, to cable, to cell phones, hooked to internet, to WhatsApp, and all the social media. Will you have the discipline to shut them down to pray? With all the food courts available all around you and in your house, do you have the discipline to cut them all off and fast? Do you have the discipline to dare to be alone, to shut everything down and bow at God's feet in communion with Him? All the available treats obtainable at the Babylonian king's table are just to shift their attention away from God to the gods of the new land. But these 4 young men purposed in their heart that they will not sin against God. As part of the indoctrination, the king even changed their names from God-given names to idol names. How many of us are changing our names today to suit the gods of the land? Many people don't want to bear Bible names anymore. Many don't even want God to appear in their names. Those who have biblical names are changing them to something else. Brethren, are you not eating the king's portion? If you go through the whole Daniel chapter 1, you will discover how these young men sacrificed pleasure at the devil's court for God, because they want to remain pure before their God, and they want to serve Him as they used to do before times. And because they did this, God rewarded them. Let's see what God did from verses 17 to 20. And verse 17 says, "As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now, at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king communed with them. And among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king." And remember, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, they were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. "And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm." Brethren, God will always reward love and dedication to His injunctions. In what ways are you compromising today? In what ways are you eating at the king's table what you should not eat? In what ways are you defiling yourselves with the portion of the king's meat? Search yourself. It is better to be like these 4 young men. It is better to obey God's word. It is better to flee anything that will make you to sin against God and remain close to Him till the end. He will always reward those who love and stick with Him. Why don't you pray now that God will help you to resist every temptation that will make you to sin against Him, that He will help you to remain with Him till the end, and that He will reward your obedience. Daniel and his friends dared to be alone with God. Why not you? God bless you as you join me next week for part 3 of this topic. Shalom.